Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. So today we're jumping into something that's really been making waves recently. There's this compelling footage coming out of Iran.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's pretty striking, isn't it?
It really is. It looks like some kind of, glowing object in the night sky.
Hmm.
And you can clearly see the Iranian military firing anti-aircraft rounds at it.
Hmm.
It just immediately grabs you and makes you think, okay, what was that? What were they actually seeing?
Right. And what's fascinating, is that while this footage is new, it's not really a new story for Iran. It actually fits into this much, much deeper history, often overlooked, I think.
Good.
So our mission today for this deep dive is to unpack that history. We're going to look at Iran's documented encounters with UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, focusing on some really specific incidents, the frankly astonishing capabilities reported by their own military sources.
Astonishing is a good word for it.
It is, and we want to explore the bigger questions these things raise. Really, the goal is to take all this kind of complex information and just lay it out clearly for you, our listeners, so you can really get a sense of how profound some of these events seem to be.
Okay, so to really get the context for that new footage, we need to go back, right?
Absolutely do.
Back to a really famous case, one that genuinely stunned military folks worldwide. The 1976 Tehran UFO incident.
Ah, yes, the classic.
It really is.
Good.
And it sounds like pure science fiction, but there's actually like a significant paper trail. So picture this. Early morning, September 19th, 1976. High over Tehran. Air traffic control first spots this bright, unidentified object.
Civilians reported it too initially.
Right. And things escalate fast. They scramble two Iranian F-4 Phantom II fighter jets.
Which were pretty advanced aircraft for their day, let's remember.
Sure.
Cold War tech.
Exactly, workhorses. And this wasn't just a quick look-see. It turned into this really baffling extended encounter.
And here's where it just goes off the charts, really. As those F-4s got close to the object, both planes reported a complete, total loss of instruments and communications.
Wow. Everything. Just dark.
Everything. Imagine being in that cockpit, screens blank, radio dead. You're flying blind, essentially.
Terrifying.
And what's even stranger, maybe, is that the systems mysteriously came back online the second the jets turned away, when they withdrew.
As if the object let them go.
It certainly seems like it, but there's more. One of the jets also reported its weapon system failed temporarily,
When?
precisely when the pilot was getting ready to fire on the object.
You're kidding.
Nope, it's in the reports. It really suggests some kind of active strategic defense by the object, like it was preventing them from impacting.
Okay, but how solid is this story? I mean, extraordinary claims, right?
Right, you need good sources. And this isn't just some obscure blog post.
No.
Forbes.com actually published a piece on this. Forbes, the business magazine.
Really? Forbes covered a UFO incident.
They did. The article was titled, "Did Iranian Fighters Battle UFOs?" And it wasn't dismissive at all. It drew from detailed military aviation sources, like Combat Aircraft Monthly.
And what was Forbes' conclusion?
Pretty stark, actually. It called the case undeniable.
Undeniable. Wow.
Yeah. And it went on to state that what happened over Tehran that morning was, and I quote, something not of this planet.
That's a heavy statement from a mainstream outlet like Forbes.
It is. It tells you how compelling the evidence trail, the pilot testimonies, the radar data, the simultaneous failures, how compelling it all was.
So the consistency between the two jets, the timing of the failures,
Yeah,
that's what made it hard to dismiss.
exactly. It wasn't just one pilot's story. It was corroborated technically and by multiple witnesses. And this 1976 event, it wasn't like a one-off freak incident either. If you look at other analyses like those by Babak Tugvit in Combat Aircraft Monthly again,
Okay.
you see Iranian military sources describing later encounters with intruders. Initially, they thought maybe they were U.S. spy drones.
That would be the logical first assumption, I guess.
Sure. But they described these things as luminous objects. They figured, okay, maybe they're emitting light for night photography, for reconnaissance.
Accent.
But the flight characteristics they reported, well, they go way beyond any drone or plane we know of, certainly back then, and maybe even now.
Okay, this is where my ears really perk up. What kind of characteristics are we talking about?
Prepare yourself. It's pretty wild.
Lay it on me.
Iranian sources reported these things could fly outside the atmosphere.
Wait, like into space?
Into space, and then come back, apparently without issue.
Yeah.
They reported speeds, maximum cruise speeds, of Mach 10.
Mach 10, that's what, over 7,600 miles per hour?
Roughly, yeah. Just incredibly fast.
Yeah, they could also.
Slow down. To a minimum speed of 0, they could just hover, hang there motionless.
So spaceflight, Mach 10 speed, and hovering capability. That's a combination.
We're not done yet.
Oh, boy.
They also reported these objects used powerful ECM, electronic countermeasures.
Okay, standard jamming.
Not standard, apparently. The reports mention jamming enemy radars with very high levels of magnetic energy.
Magnetic energy, that sounds different.
It does. Not your typical radio frequency jamming, something more exotic that could apparently disrupt navigation systems completely.
So blinding them electronically using magnetism, wow, that's a technological leap.
It absolutely is. And again, this raises that question, what kind of aircraft or drone can do all of that? Let me give you a couple more specific examples from the source material.
Please do.
November 2004, over an Iraqi nuclear facility, interestingly, an Iranian F-14 Tomcat.
Another capable fighter.
Yep. Tried to lock its radar onto one of these luminous objects. The radar beam was just instantly disrupted. Gone.
Jammed again.
Seems like it. And the pilot's description, he said the object was spherical with something like a green afterburner. It created considerable turbulence behind it, and then it just accelerated and disappeared like a meteor.
Like a meteor. So incredibly fast acceleration from that disrupted state.
Exactly. Then there's a more tragic incident, January 2012, near the Bushehr nuclear power plant in Iran.
Another nuclear site.
Notice the pattern. An F-14 scrambles to intercept another intruder. Seconds after takeoff, the F-14 just exploded.
Exploded, oh my God.
Killing both crew members instantly. And the official report, according to the source, no cause for the tragedy determined.
No cause found. Just exploded on takeoff going after one of these things.
That's what the source states. It's deeply unsettling. It moves beyond just, strange lights and technological puzzles. These become potentially lethal encounters.
Absolutely. That's chilling. And of course, you have to consider the mundane explanations.
You do. You have to be skeptical.
The source material does that, right? It looks at maybe more conventional reasons.
Yes, it does. For the later incidents, like the 2004 jamming, one suggestion was, well, maybe the F-14's radar was just old. 1970s tech facing modern jamming. Iran's fleet was isolated by sanctions.
Okay, plausible. And the 2012 crash?
The grim possibility raised was maybe they were using off-market spare parts smuggled in past embargoes. And maybe one of those parts failed catastrophically.
Also plausible, sadly.
Yeah.
Maintenance issues with aging, sanctioned aircraft are real.
Definitely real concerns for any military in that position. But, and here's the big but,
Yeah.
can those explanations account for all the reported characteristics together?
Right. The Mach 10, the hovering, the leaving the atmosphere.
The specific magnetic jamming, what known aircraft, what drone, even a top secret one, combined all of that, especially back in '76 or even the early 2000s.
Let's put Mach 10 in perspective again. You mentioned the SR-71 Blackbird earlier.
A legend of aviation, right. Pushed the absolute limits. It flew around Mach 3, maybe a bit more.
Okay, Mach 3 versus Mach 10, huge difference.
Monumental difference. Now, sure, NASA had the experimental X-43. It hit Mach 9.68 briefly in 2004.
But that was like a missile, right? Not a reusable plane.
Exactly. It was a scramjet experiment, flew for seconds, program terminated. The Air Force's X-51 Waverider hit Mach 5 for about 4 minutes before, crashing.
So these are experimental, often single-use things. Not reliable, reusable reconnaissance craft that can pop into space, hover, and jam systems magnetically.
Precisely. None of that existed as a mature operational aircraft capable of those combined feats, especially not back in 1976.
So, if these reports are accurate, the source material seems to lean towards two main possibilities.
That's how it frames it, yeah. Possibly one. This
Yeah.
is technology that's something off-world, not human-made.
Okay, the extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Or a possibility two. It represents some sort of secret, unknown hypersonic aircraft, but one that was somehow incredibly mature and reliable decades ago, trusted for sensitive missions over places like Iran.
Either one of those possibilities is, well, it changes everything we think we know about aerospace tech and who has it.
Completely. It forces a total reevaluation. Are we talking about secret human tech decades ahead of the curve or something else entirely?
And you mentioned the nuclear connection earlier.
Yes. It's a recurring theme that's hard to ignore. The consistent observation of these UAPs over nuclear facilities.
Not just in Iran, you said.
No, it's a global pattern, reported widely in the U.S. too. Hovering over nuclear missile silos, power plants. There are even credible reports from military personnel of UAPs actively interacting with nuclear missiles, shutting them down.
Shutting down nuclear metal.
Rendering them temporarily useless. This has apparently happened to virtually every nuclear power. It's a deeply concerning aspect of the phenomenon.
Okay, so bringing it back to the listener. What's the big so what here? What are
Uh,
the implications? I mean, if technology capable of Mach 10, hovering, spaceflight, magnetic jamming, if that existed in 1976, it really makes you ask, why has the U.S., for example, spent literally trillions developing the F-35,
Mhm.
a plane that's notoriously troubled and can't even break Mach 2 consistently?
It's a jarring comparison, isn't it?
It is. It raises this huge question about what's really going on. Either the tech wasn't real,
Yeah.
or our understanding of global military capabilities, or perhaps even non-human capabilities, is way off.
It fundamentally challenges our assumptions.
So wrapping this up, we've gone from that recent Iranian footage all the way back to 1976. We've looked at F-4s losing power, F-14s exploding, objects doing Mach 10, leaving the atmosphere, hovering. And this isn't just hearsay. It's coming from documented military reports and analysis in serious publications.
Right. It's information that really pushes back against simple explanations. And maybe the final thought to leave with everyone is this: the sheer persistence of these sightings. Highly advanced objects, often near nuclear sites, reported by different militaries year after year, decade after decade. It just forces you to question, what do we really know about the technology in our skies? What are the real boundaries?
Does it mean for security, for
Yeah.
power balances,
Yeah.
maybe even for our basic understanding of our place in the cosmos?
Exactly. If even some of these reports accurately describe the capabilities witnessed, the implications are just immense for everyone.
Definitely food for thought. We really encourage you, the listener, to mull over these questions. Maybe look up some of those articles we mentioned. Keep that curiosity going, because clearly there's a lot beneath the surface here. Thanks for diving deep with us today.